Restoration is proven not by words of regret, but by renewed obedience. Exodus 35 marks a decisive turning point for Israel after the failure of the golden calf and the renewal of the covenant. Moses gathers the people and repeats God's commands, beginning with the Sabbath. What follows is striking. The people do not resist, delay, or argue. Instead, Scripture records a willing and generous response. Exodus 35:21 says that everyone who was willing and whose heart moved them brought offerings for the work of the tabernacle. Grace has softened what rebellion once hardened. Obedience now flows freely where resistance once ruled. This moment teaches us that true restoration reshapes desire. The people are no longer coerced by fear, but motivated by devotion. God does not force generosity, He invites participation. When hearts are restored, obedience becomes a joy rather than a burden. God's presence is no longer treated lightly, but honored through willing sacrifice. Jesus echoes this same reality in John 14 as He prepares His disciples for His departure. In John 14:1, He tells them not to let their hearts be troubled. He does not remove uncertainty, but He anchors hope. In verses 6 to 7, Jesus declares, "I am the way and the truth and the life." Restoration with God is not a system or ritual, it is relationship with Christ. Obedience now flows from abiding in Him, not striving for approval. Jesus further explains in verse 12 that those who believe in Him will continue His work. This is not a promise of personal greatness, but of shared mission. Restored people become participants in God's purposes. Obedience after restoration always carries outward movement. Faith that remains private eventually stagnates. Psalm 56 gives voice to trust formed through vulnerability. In verse 3, the psalmist declares, "When I am afraid, I put my trust in you." Restoration does not eliminate fear, but it redirects it toward God. Trust becomes the daily posture of a heart made new. Paul addresses the fruit of restoration in 2 Corinthians 2, urging the church to forgive and restore a repentant brother. In verse 7, he warns that excessive sorrow can overwhelm the one who has repented. Restoration must be completed with grace, not prolonged punishment. God restores in order to heal, not to keep wounds open. Today, consider what restoration has produced in your life. Has grace softened your heart toward obedience, generosity, and trust? God restores not to leave us unchanged, but to draw us into joyful participation in His work. Let restored hearts respond with willing obedience, for this is the evidence that grace has truly taken root.